What's going on, everybody? John Eric Poli here with My MMA News, and today's guest will be fighting at UFC Vegas 75, fight date June 17th. Joined today by Zac Pauga. Zac, nice to see you, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, no problem at all. Before we get into any of this stuff about this upcoming fight, I do want to back up just a moment in time to your last fight. It was your first official, technically, UFC fight. I know you had a lot of experience being on Tough and everything, but just talk about the first official UFC fight, what it meant to you, and just the experience overall of getting the win in the first fight and everything that fight week was all about.
It was great. It was a great experience. I've been working really hard to get to this point, and it was nice to just, do what I had planned to do so long ago. I've been here in Curtis and Alistair's corner so many times, and it felt extra special being there for myself and then going out there and performing and getting the win.
Now, kind of curious to ask this question. I know typically the answer is normally always yes, because a lot of fighters have nerves no matter what, but definitely nerves are a big time factor whenever you have your first UFC fight. Being that you were on Tough, you were in the house, you were around the Apex so much, did you have any nerves before the first fight?
I usually don't get nerves fighting like some people do, but I was super nervous for this fight specifically because I had never lost before and definitely never been knocked out before until 2 fights ago. So the last time I was in that octagon and got touched by a 4 ounce glove, I went to sleep. So there were some questions in my head going into that fight, like, man, can I take a punch? Am I going to get knocked out again? And that was the most nerve wracking part that I'm not really used to going through.
You know what? I'm actually kind of glad that you brought that up because it made me think. Like that's question that I've always wondered with fighters when you experience the first like knockout loss like that. Is that very hard to overcome mentally? Like, what was the lead up to that fight, your last one? After that, like just knowing that that was in the back of your mind.
It was like technically a massive focus on defense, right? If you eat a full strength shot from anyone 205 and above, you're going to go to sleep. So that was key number one. Make sure my defense is tight and I'm not taking shots like I did versus Muhammad. And then it's just believing in yourself. Like it's scary. It is scary. Fighting is scary, but you have to believe in yourself and you have to believe that you're going to come out the other end of that.
And I want to ask you two more questions just about Tough, if it's okay, before we get into this upcoming fight here. I know a lot of people will say that Tough is probably the hardest tournament in all of sports just because it involves getting inside of a cage, having, a fist fight inside of a cage, all fights kind of quickly all together there. Do you agree with that? A guy that, grew up playing a lot of sports, successful football career, that there's no tournament like Tough?
I do agree with that. There is no tournament like Tough. It is fighting back to back like that. It's like 2 fights within 3 weeks. There's nothing like that. And living in the house, having every second of your day filmed. But, I was fortunate that I was a little bit older and had life experience when I went to that house. And I liked it. It wasn't a huge deal to me, to not have a cell phone and not have a laptop. It reminded me of being a kid again. Like that's how I grew up without internet and having to entertain yourself in the backyard and stuff. So for me, I miss it. I miss, having nothing to worry about but training, no bills or anything like that. So the tournament is difficult. And I'm sure as we go forward, younger people, as we get going, will have a difficult time in the house. But for me, I enjoyed it.
All right, man. Just one more tough question for you, and then we'll get into the this upcoming fight here. So, Ultimate Fighter, of course, the newest season is about to be airing pretty soon here. Just your thoughts on this upcoming season. Now, coaches Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler. It's gonna be. I'm gonna assume probably gonna be a lot of eyes on it.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's cool. Obviously I love being on Team Pena, being there with Juliana and learning from her, but I am a little bit jealous just because of the eyes that Conor McGregor is going to draw to this season. It doesn't. There's no other fighter on planet Earth that would draw that kind of exposure. So it's an amazing opportunity for all the lightweights that got to be on this season and obviously get the coaching from those guys, but just get the eyes that Connor's going to draw. And I'm excited for it.
All right, man. Now that all that is taken care of, let's now finally get into this upcoming fight here, UFC Vegas 75. Training camp going on right now. Going to be starting to put the final touches on that pretty soon. Just how's camp been?
It's been great. It's been fantastic. I've been trying to maintain a little bit more weight this camp. That's the biggest difference. But it's been going great. Just had my last probably hard day of sparring just right now, and things are going fantastic.
And you mentioned about putting on weight there. It's funny. This is actually a topic right on my mind now because I just interviewed Chris Dawkins a day ago, and he was talking about, kind of being one of those guys that may have been able to go down to 205. He was really undersized, a bit heavyweight. Just talk about, that end of it, about being a guy that maybe is maybe a little bit smaller for some of the heavyweights and trying to put on a few pounds there to, be able to take some shots and all that.
Yeah, I'm just in a really weird position. I would say I'm right where Dawkins is I'm a tweener, right? I fought at 240 as a heavyweight on the Ultimate Fighter, but my last fight, I was just so concerned about making weight since I hadn't made 205 in over a year. So I started to cut. I was dieting all camp and then ended up walking onto the scale. I didn't have to cut at all. So, I don't want to do that again. I want to maintain the benefit of my size. I am a big, what I would call big light heavyweight. So I just got to maintain my muscle and my size going through camp.
And being a guy that fought, you said like at 240 at a heavyweight, doing 205. What weight class would you like to call home?
205. 205 is my home. Someday, if we get a 220, that would be amazing. But I'm fortunate that I get to train with real heavyweights, right? A lot of the heavyweights out there are just lazy 205ers, but I get to train with real heavyweights, and I know that I'm not one.
And I am actually a guy that would be a fan of seeing like a 215, 220, 225, something like that, pound weight class. I think that would be a pretty cool addition there. Anyway, let's get back into the fight here a little bit. Just tell us about your opponent and what you've seen out of him so far and how you see this fight playing out.
Yeah, so, I've actually been watching Modestas for a long time. He's been in the UFC. He was cut from the UFC and then came back. So that right there tells me a lot about him. He's a guy that's seen the other side and fought his way back. And that's a dangerous man. And he's skilled. He is a good fighter. He's definitely the best fighter that I've been going to be in the octagon with. And I see myself using my well-rounded ability to win this fight, right? He is an excellent striker, but I haven't seen him, grapple very much. And we're going to find out on fight night how his grappling is.
All right, so now this fight, it's going to be inside of the UFC Apex, a place you're very familiar with from the Ultimate Fighter experience, your UFC debut inside of the Apex as well. Is this starting to be home field advantage for you a little bit?
Yeah, I love fighting at the Apex. I lived in there for 6 weeks. I've cornered Curtis Blaydes there 7 times. This will be my 3rd fight, or if you count the tough fights, my 5th fight in the Apex. And I like that small cage. I just told you I want to grab a hold of Modestas and see how his grappling is. And so the smaller the cage, the better.
And you mentioned about working with Curtis there. Just talk about him a little bit and what he's meant to you in your career.
It's been fantastic. I'm not here without Curtis. I don't have the type of trajectory in my career without being in his corner and being his training partner. But this camp, I've actually been training exclusively with light heavyweights, and that's been building my confidence. Having my main training partners early in my career being Curtis Blaydes and Alistair Overeem was great, but that just meant I was getting beat up every day. So it's been nice to be the bully, to be the big guy for a little bit with some real light heavyweight training partners.
All right, man, just to close things out here today, I want to shift gears now from the sport of mixed martial arts to the sport of football. You, of course, had a great football career. I know, obviously, now those days behind you as your professional fighter, but I'm sure you have to be pretty thankful and appreciative for the time you spent playing football. Just talk about your career a little bit and how special those moments were in your life of playing at Colorado State, getting the opportunity with the Houston Texans. I'm sure that's always going to be a special memory for you, something you'll carry for forever.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you always remember your first love. You always remember first love, and mine was football. And, the key with football for team sports in general, for everybody, it's not about being good at football. Yes, I was super fortunate. I got a scholarship. I got to play, start 4 years at Colorado State. That was amazing. But it taught me how to train, taught me how to, reach peak performance. And that's what I rolled into MMA. That's how I went from, turning pro at 32 to being in the UFC at 34. It was the lessons and the ability to push myself that I got from all of my coaches throughout my entire football career.
And I'm sure you're just like many of other people out there. I just want to get your thoughts on the upcoming season. I'm sure you're going to be really excited for the upcoming NFL season. I know I can't wait. Every day I'm like logging on, always looking at all the Packers beat reporters, trying to get a head start on what the season might maybe be playing out like.
So I'm a Broncos fan. I am a Broncos fan, and we had a rough year last year, and I'm hoping we're done rebuilding. That's what we'll see. I think we're probably another rebuilding year, but hopefully we're done rebuilding.
And I'm hoping that the Packers aren't really going to be in super much of a rebuild. Hopefully you just have maybe 1 or 2 years where you have something to build on and, really take off there. I know I can't wait for the upcoming season. And Zach, just again, man, really want to, thank you for all the time here today, answering all the questions. Really appreciate everything. Just last thing now before I let you take off, you want to plug your social media so this way people know where to follow you at. You have any management, sponsorships, anything that you got to plug? Floor is yours.
Yeah, so it's Zac Pauga, ZACPAUGA, anywhere that you can follow people, Instagram and Twitter. Paradigm Sports, that's my management. First Form Supplements, that's my main sponsor. All the links are on my Instagram. Check it out.